Are we live? Hey folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Saurabh Pol. Welcome to Polkeball. I'm an hour late. I'm sorry, I had just some work I couldn't finish. But finally, I've been able to finish it off, or at least in the way I was supposed to. At least it's a little better. And tomorrow I can take it forward. No excuses, but yeah. Um, Change of topic too, frankly, because it's been 5 years. I don't know how many of us remember this anymore. But 5 years ago, the world changed, and while it is there in the back of our minds all the time, um, it's been real. It's been real. It's been half a decade since we all were locked into our houses, right? And more or less by this time, I think everyone was done. By the last week of March in 2020, I think everyone's lives changed forever. And I think now is a good point to actually sit and be like, take a take stock of things, right? Like, where are we? What happened? Okay, how has the world changed? What were the good things that happened? What were the bad things that happened? What are the good things that have stuck around? What are the bad things that have stuck around? Right? I remember 5 years ago, the first thing that happened was that once lockdown was announced, everyone was worried that kaam kaise hoga, you know, and that is where work from home really began for a lot of people. Now, I've always worked in tech since my MBA, so I know that work from home is not really a big deal for me. Work from home was available for us, but not in the way we got during the pandemic, right? Like, पूरा time घर पे बैठे रहो, कभी office मत आओ. So work from home really started for a lot of people. A lot of people got to go back to their towns, their villages, their cities where they came from. They went back to the family. So it was fantastic for a lot of people. Fortunately, I was still with my family when the lockdown hit, so I didn't have to change much, right? There was no monetary loss for me, other than some loss of hikes, probably some pay cuts that happened, during that time. And this is public news, right? Like the pay cuts that happened during the lockdown, during my time for the company I worked for, it was company it was public news, like there were pay cuts that happened that year, which is fine. But a lot of people, for the first time ever, they realized what it means to work digitally, to work virtually. So it was incredible, right? And that's what most people remember, but that was the beginning of it, right? um, 90 to 95% of the people I know, they have gone back to office, either in a hybrid format or in a full-time return to office format, right? So that is one part which so many people loved. Yeah, work from home मजा आ गया. And they were stuck there. They were like, ऐसे ही रहना चाहिए. एक दो साल चला वो, and then it went back. And today our lives are so different because of work from home. I think it has made us happy and miserable in both parts. Happy because we know it's possible, miserable because we are not, people aren't letting them, most people aren't being allowed to work from home, right? So that is what it is. Although some people like me, like I'm fortunate, like I work for a company which is remote first, even today. In fact, it is like fully remote, not even remote first. Like I have worked for companies that are remote first, and now I'm working for a company that is fully remote. And I can tell you, like, there are challenges in both, right? Like, this was just not fathomable even, like, 6 years ago, कि पूरा टाइम घर पे बैठ के काम कर रहे हो. That, and even that was considered an exception to the rule. It wasn't considered the rule, right? So now that we have this, it has changed the world. Remote work, hybrid work, it has completely changed the world, because now people know there is a chance to have work life balance, but still most people are not getting it. That pisses people off even more. Although, because of my personality and who I am, I'm someone who prefers in office work or at least hybrid work environments, right? But it is what it is. You don't always get what you want in life, right? So that is the biggest change I see from 5 years ago till now. That there was this whole trend about work from home. It was a solution, but now everyone expects it to be something which they want as a feature. But guys, it was always a stopgap measure, and I've always maintained it, that it worked out better for the employees than it did for the top management. So whatever doesn't work out for the top management doesn't really last, frankly speaking. And this is a prime example of it, right? So that's one. One of the second things which started and unfortunately didn't continue is the focus on hygiene. I mean, people were लोग तो नहा रहे थे यार, इसमें क्या बोलते हैं अपना वो, ये लेके हैंड सैनिटाइजर को लेके लोग नहा रहे थे हर जगह. And it continued for a year and a half, that whole facade, that whole lie. Because I'm someone who has been carrying, a hand sanitizer with myself since 2011-12, literally tab se. Okay, so because I've traveled a lot, right, in my life, because of for college, for work, and so on and so forth. So because of that, I've kept it with myself. And I would say I was happy that others were also focusing on their hygiene, and, taking care of themselves and others around them, being responsible. But that also has gone away. I personally feel like I remember, like, I was in a rickshaw while coming back, and this is like late 2021, and my rickshaw wala just spat outside, like, aisa thuk diya. And I was like, okay, there's nothing that can convince, the people of our country to not spit out in the open, because it is what it is. I know it's disgusting to even talk about, but that is the reality if you live in Mumbai, right? Like, or even Navi Mumbai for that matter. I'm not gonna lie. Anywhere Thane and all of that, or anywhere in this country, people will always just go around spitting for no reason, and I don't know why. It's completely disgusting, and it shows their upbringing or a lack of upbringing for that matter. So it's pretty pathetic, and that has continued. And when it happened that time long back, is when I was convinced कि भाई इस देश का कभी वो जाने नहीं वाला, maybe another 40-50 years, because if a goddamn lockdown and that entire thing that happened, which I don't even want to name, happened, and then still you are like कि भाई मैं तो थूकूंगा, मुझे जहाँ थूकना है, तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता, is what I personally feel. Third thing is, which happened, which is a good thing that happened, I would say, is that a lot of people focused on their mental health. A lot of people reevaluated कि exactly मुझे life में चाहिए क्या. बस पागलों की तरह काम नहीं करना है, मुझे रात को 11 बजे स्टेटस अपडेट्स नहीं देने unnecessarily. So I've seen that, and I'm very happy that some of my friends did that. I'm very happy I did that, where I reevaluated. Okay, what exactly do you want to do? Is this how you want to live your life? And I said yes, but not at this stage. Like थोड़ा सा effort डालना है life में, but अभी नहीं, बाद में करूँगा. So I staggered my approach a little bit. I was like, थोड़ा आराम से करेंगे, जाना वहीं पे, थोड़ा आराम से जाएंगे. I'm okay to reach my destination 2, 3, 4 years later, but I want to reach in one piece. That is what I decided. And a lot of my friends also kind of rationalized their ambitions, and aligned it better with what they want in life. So that was a beautiful thing that happened, I would say. And I think that wouldn't have happened without the lockdowns. I would definitely say that wouldn't have happened. I would say another thing that happened is people gave a lot more focus on their mental health, right? Which was great at first, but then there was a fetishization of mental health, like mental illnesses, especially not fetishization of mental health, but mental illnesses. Like if someone had something that was going wrong with them, they kind of behaved like, ki, oh, that is their entire personality. Someone who struggled, a little bit with, their mental health. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it. The first thing that a person who genuinely has suffered from it will do is they'll not really talk about it. They will not make it their entire personality, because they wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But I saw a lot of people fetishize it. But that's okay. That's, it's still better than not having any conversation about mental health. At least now I see the generations above us really know that, okay, depression is real. People are, people can suffer from it. It is not a fake thing invented by young people to get more attention and give excuses about themselves. So that is something which really helped. People suffered a lot back then, but now people, if they reach a point in their life where they need mental health support, they can be very much out there. The stigma went away. You know, 5 years on, I would say the stigma went away, and I think that is beautiful. That was much, much, much needed, right? So that is there. Couple of things went up because we were stuck at home. So of course, e-commerce really rose. I don't think there would have been quick commerce today in India without the lockdowns. The whole concept of needing something in 10 minutes wouldn't have really picked up unless e-commerce would have been, the promise of e-commerce was fulfilled during the lockdowns. It just was, right? It was built for that moment, and it was executed beautifully, is what I would say. But quick commerce is something that came about. It was always there, like Dunzo and all were there, by the way, even then. Although आज Dunzo बंद पड़ गया, ironically enough. Correct, like Dunzo got some money from Reliance. They couldn't continue, unfortunately, and they couldn't scale, and they weren't able to do it. And even I would say There were some other brands also like Big Basket and all that were tailor made for that situation. They didn't really make the most out of it, unfortunately. And even today, if you see Big Basket and all are now saying कि हाँ हम अभी quick commerce में जाएंगे. So they have been 2 steps behind, unfortunately, Big Basket in whatever they have done. But if you look at the others like Swiggy, Instamart, Blinkit, Blinkit, which was Grofers long back, was almost lost, but that whole quick commerce push really helped them, Zepto was the one which really got into quick commerce and really beat Dunzo into that game. In that game, but Swiggy Instamart is the one which executed it beautifully, and so did Blinkit. And they knew what they were doing. They were like, we can't exist on our own, and they sold themselves to Zomato. And our lives and India today is changing because of quick commerce, right? So many kirana shops are being closed. The buyer behavior, the user behavior of people like me, urban upper middle class people, is completely dependent. We are completely dependent on quick commerce platforms. We're completely dependent on that for better or worse, right? So it is what it is. So that has completely changed. The other thing that happened was EdTech came along. Okay. EdTech came along, and that is an industry that really boomed during that time. Content creation really boomed during that time. Ironically, that was the time I decided to stop making videos. So it was literally like, when there was a gold rush announced, I was like, okay, I'm packing my bag and I'm going home just because. I had my shovel, I was there in the right spot, just right format, just wrong time. I was early, so I knew the way around the land. So I just didn't do it. I just didn't do it at that time. I was far too much in a dark place to continue making any videos for that matter. It's a miracle I was even able to continue working the way I was, the situation I was in. So yeah, it was a tough time for me during the lockdowns. For a lot of people, the lockdowns were a beautiful time when they went back to family, sat at home, worked 2-3 hours a day, and called it a day, right? And they enjoyed, and then they gave a lot of interviews, and their salaries went from 4 lakhs per annum to 16 lakhs per annum in a span of 18 months. So for a lot of people, that is what it was. So you go online and you will see a lot of comments कि लॉकडाउन में तो बड़ा मजा आया, वापस होना चाहिए, हर साल 1 महीना रखो आप. So ऐसी बातें करते हैं लोग. So yeah, of course, everyone has the right to make a comment, but of course it was completely impractical even back then. The lockdowns, had huge economic costs, which we are suffering from even today, by the way. A lot of governments, especially in the West, who put in, stimulus packages, and the inflation that happened because of it, the political changes that have happened because of it. The world has changed because of those decisions that were taken at that time, right? So yeah, a lot of you did enjoy going back to your hometowns and just sitting and working 3 hours a day. Of course, like who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't? But there were long-term implications for it, and yeah, that is what it is, I would say. EdTech and all really scaled up during that time. But if you see, like Byju's was the leader of EdTech back then, right? Today, Byju's doesn't exist. I think is insolvent. They've been accused of a lot of things. Allegedly, they have done a few things. Apparently, I don't know. That's what in the news it keeps coming along, right? But if you see the latest Twitter post by Byju's Ravindran, he's the founder, right? And this guy basically posted ki we'll rise up again and this and that. The comments over there are like, you have cheated us, tum chor ho, this and that. I'm like, wow, that's insane. And I have always said this, I'm so happy I finished my education before this edtech boom happened, because I mean, it was just horrendous, right? Like Ajay Sony's like 22 billions valuation, absolutely. Byju's was huge. Like they had taken money from both Google and Meta and Facebook. And by Facebook, I mean literally Mark Zuckerberg's personal investments were over there. Google had invested in them. They had taken money from anywhere and everywhere. They had bought Akash tutorials and everything. I used to once at one point of go to Akash tutorials, by the way. So it was like incredible. And by the end of it, the only profitable arm of Byju's that was profitable actually was Akash, right? It was crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And ultimately these edtech, like online classes wala people, they started opening offline classes after a point of time, because they realized that online classes are maybe are not that effective. They realize maybe they are not effective. They're a stopgap measure, and only the highly driven can actually make something out of it, right? So that is what it is. They went about disrupting. I will give them the props to each one of them, frankly speaking. But ultimately, even they realize that offline model is the model to go to. Offline model is the model where they can actually make money and they can make the most amount of impact. People like Physics Wala really rose up during that time, which is now PW, if I'm not wrong. Like they changed it and all. Alak Pandey and all. He's a billionaire now. That's incredible, right? So, but it also shows that India's entrance exam addiction uh, was actually these people are benefiting from India's entrance exam addiction. It's as simple as that. It became even worse during the lockdowns because people had nothing to do. They're like, काम तो है नहीं, हम पढ़ लेते हैं. I think the lack of jobs that have come about ever since then, and पहले से भी वही हो रहा था, but अभी तो it is so apparent that India is not able to produce the number of jobs it's supposed to produce for all the lakhs and millions of graduates that we get. I think what we have 1 million graduates coming out every month, not even every year, every month we have 1 million graduates coming out in India, and we don't even have 1 million jobs being created every quarter or something. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So that part is still there. That tech part is still there. They're still powerful, but not as culturally prevalent as they once were. So the lockdowns brought upon that, and but I still feel they are very aggressive. These online coaching classes and all of those guys, they're very aggressive. I personally am not a fan of the way they go about it, right? So there is that. As I said, like huge economic impact, not only in India but outside India also. Huge inflation, incredible amount of inflation. So the lockdowns were really bad, I would say. There was revenge traveling after that. I was one of those people who did revenge traveling later on. कि बस जाना है, चांस मिला नहीं, मुझे घूमने जाना है, रिवेंज परचेसिंग होना है, खर्चा करेंगे बस, बिकॉज पैसा बचा के रखा था. लाइक भले ही आई वॉज नॉट अर्निंग एज मच एज आई शुड हैव ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम. पैसा बचा के रखा था मैंने. सो सबने ही बचा के रखा था मोर और लेस. एंड कितना ही तुम ऑनलाइन चीज़ें मंगाओगे, आफ्टर पॉइंट यू वर नॉट एबल टू स्पेंड इट. So that was the thing. So yeah, one thing I learned during that time, frankly, is that nobody knows anything. I thought that the world was being run by adults who knew exactly what they were doing. And I realized that, bro, nobody knows what they are doing, which is one of the biggest shocks I ever got. I saw some close friends for who they really are. I saw their resilience. I saw them break apart. I saw, huge wins in and around me. I saw huge losses in and around me. It was a tough, painful time for a lot of people. I would say it was a very bad decision, which was taken. Even today, they accept that they shouldn't have done the lockdowns. Like many people, many experts agree to that, right? It was way worse things happened because of it. Then the solution was worse than the problem in a lot of ways. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. Maybe I'm just reading the things I want to read, right? So I would be wrong. But anyone, if you have have your thoughts about it, whether those lockdowns were the right decision or not, you can put it in the chat section. I can't believe it's been 18, 18 minutes. I've been just chatting about it, right? It's insane. I don't know why. But yeah, on a personal note, it was a very tough time, and I'm glad we are past it. I've purposely ensured I forget about that time in my life. Nothing good came out of it. बोलते हैं ना, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't think so. Sometimes it really breaks you, and it takes years and years and years to get out of it, right? Till date, I'm not able to respond or use WhatsApp the way I used to once, because I had stopped responding to people after a point of time. I just didn't want to talk to anyone during the lockdown, and till date, I can't use WhatsApp. I just can't. I mean, I look at the messages and I don't reply. I've lost friendships because of it. And at least, if not lost friendships, the quality of friendships has deteriorated, and I take responsibility for it, right? So it's tough. The lockdowns weren't the same for everyone. That's all I will say. They were just not the same for everyone. And yeah, I remembered, I remembered, like when I was in college, I was like, यार work from home मिल जाए तो मजा आ जाए. And when I finally got it, I was like, be careful what you wish for. And I was like, no, I don't want to continue with this unnecessarily. And the only reason I will ever continue working from home, if is the company is amazing, and the opportunity is fantastic. That's the only way I'll continue with that one. So yeah. So those were, that was Polke Bowl on um, the lockdowns, honestly, and what came out of it. Um, Very sobering topic. That's what I feel. Let me know in the chat section, in the comment section, what do you think. I'll start taking questions, comments, anything, and yeah, Ajay Soni is like, hi Saurabh. Hi Ajay. Ajay is like, yeah, I completely agree. EdTech were helpful in rural areas, even today for quality education. Yes, it was very helpful for those people for whom physical infrastructure was not easily put up, you know. But really, what really came out of it, a lot of people in the, in the rural areas, they were lied to by tech salespeople, and they went into debt because they were told कि आपका बच्चा नहीं पढ़ेगा, आपका बच्चा पीछे हो जाएगा. Now, if you're trying to sell to someone कि आपका बच्चा फेल हो जाएगा if you don't pay me money, आपका बच्चा पीछे रहेगा if you don't pay me money, this is the future, and आपके बच्चे के जो भी दोस्त लोग हैं उन्होंने भी सेम किया है. What exactly are you doing? Is that ethical? Are you telling me that didn't happen? And people in urban areas could at least take those kind of debts. In rural areas, they cannot. Like उतना purchasing power नहीं है. We have to be responsible when we are selling things to people. Did that or did that not happen in edtech? You know, did that not happen? That's my question, and I think it totally happened, right? So that is why many of these people failed, because their business model was not sustainable, right? So yeah, Ajay is saying PW, which is physics wala, is entering, just bought Drishti IAS for 2500 crores. That's insane. That's insane. I think a lot of consolidation is happening now and will continue to happen in this space, because not everyone has in it in them to continue with it, to be very frank, right? So yeah, Shomik is off topic, Shomik, but okay. I've been working as a management trainee in a publicly listed company for the last 9 months after MBA. Today, my manager shouted at me and used abusive language. Is this normal? Even though I didn't make any mistake, is it normal or sign of toxic work culture? And he was threatening me. I will make you leave this job. Shomik, you tell me, I want others also to respond. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? So, um, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I have faced this situation too in my life, and I can guarantee tell you that if something like this happens, um, that's a sign of a toxic, not definitely a toxic manager, but maybe even a toxic workplace. For all you know, everyone else is nice. Your manager is not nice. You know, for all you know, the entire company is like this. Um, Unfortunately, certain parts of our economy, certain sectors, people can get away by mistreating young people, or anyone else for that matter, young or weak people, or anyone who they can get their hands upon. If they can mistreat them, they will take an opportunity to mistreat them. And it's like abuse. Abuse is like the same concept in relationships, right? If it happens once, it will happen again. It's a pattern. Someone who does it once, will continue doing it. वो बीच बीच में आता रहेगा. So you have to stand up for yourself and be like, hey, you can't talk to me like that. But if that is the culture of the place, you either put up with it or you leave. That is the reality. I'm giving you honest advice. It's unfortunate advice, but that is the reality of the whole thing. Because I mean, there are so many people who work in such horrible conditions because they are like, पैसा कमाना है, खाना खाना है. You get what I mean? So that is what it is. Rahul Chavan is like, भाऊ लग्न झालं का? हो. So Rahul, yeah, interestingly, I was a single guy during the lockdowns. And during the lockdowns, just before that, I had an option, like I will go out there, like I'll continue my, being single and, trying to date someone and this and that, going on these, dating apps and all of that. And during the lockdowns, like, of course, we got a lot of matches at that time. People were like chatting left, right, center. But after a point of time, I was like, no, I just can't do this. This is too irritating. And that one thing happened during the lockdown. One good thing is I started hating these dating apps, and I just cut it. Like, I can't do this anymore. So that was one. And it was also during that time I was convinced by myself. I think bas ho gaya abhi dating, shitting and all of that jazz. I think you should get married. And that is when I convinced myself ki yes, I was convinced completely that I should get married, and I agreed to get into the arranged marriage market. So that is what happened during that time. Yeah. I don't know if others also faced that. I don't know, maybe you guys are too young. But if you did, that's great. But I know quite a few people who decided during the lockdown, okay, I can't do this. I need to get married. So, but not because of the lockdown, but it certainly helped, because it gave a lot of time to think for people. So that is what it is. I know a lot of my friends who got married just before the lockdown. Amazing time. People fell in love, यार. शादी हो गया, साथ में बैठे, no matter what, like dealing with something like this together. It was pretty crazy. So yeah, but people who didn't like each other, it became even worse, right? Basically, people who loved each other, they loved each other even more during the lockdowns. The ones who hated each other even more. वो वैसा हो गया. I've seen that. That was the thing. So yeah, Abhinav R12 is like cancellation of board exams is one of the horrible decisions. Does I personally think? What I personally think, especially for class 12 students, after that only CUET came into existence. Okay, I don't know about that. Too old for that, I guess. But yeah, there were a lot of cancellations that happened during that time, and I think even the people who were in their first year and all of that, people who were in their final years and all of that, that was horrible. That was just absolutely horrible. And I don't know if you know this. Even today, like of course many of you know this, they got COVID batch ke log hai. People who joined the organization during COVID, or people who got into the workforce during COVID, which was mainly Gen Z. Some people disparagingly say, "अरे कोविड का बच्चा लोग हैं, इनको क्या पता, लॉकडाउन का बच्चा." Like that is literally lockdown kids is what they are called, right? Disparagingly online, not just at work, even online. like lockdown के बच्चे, इनको क्या पता. There is some truth to it, because many people who entered the workforce during the lockdowns have seen it. They take a while to adjust to the reality of the workplace, right? Like थोड़ा seriousness आने को थोड़ा सा time लगता है. And I have said this multiple times before. I'm so happy Gen Z is here, because they are raising the standards of corporate workplace. They are literally impacting the corporate workplace quite a bit. So I'm very happy Gen Z is here. But I also feel somewhere they take some time to adjusting to the actual reality, the realpolitik of the workplace, and the practical realities of what it means to be an adult. I think they're taking some time to realize that. They're taking some time to understand that the way people behaved with them during the 2020 to 2022 times is not going to last forever. That was an exception to the rule. That was a once in a century time. Certain things from there will continue, but not all of them. Hardly 9 out of 10 things are not going to continue. So, lockdown ka bacha log kind of need to get used to the fact, like, oh, I work from home, kyun nahi de rahe? Like, guys, work from home was a privilege, and now it is back to being a privilege. It was never the norm. It was a stopgap measure, right? So yeah, that is what I will say. So yeah, and also it affected a lot of students. उनका बच्चे लोग का जो पढ़ाई रुक गया, बहुत affect हुआ है, I would say. बहुत लोगों का campus life ruin हो गया उसमें. So that was one thing which was horrible, and I think that those times never come back. That is one of the lessons of life. That is one of the realities of life. There are certain things that never come back. They just don't, which is pretty unfortunate, right? So that is what it is. I'm gonna be online only for 4 more minutes, folks, because I think it's gonna be 11 very soon. So if you have any questions, any comments, let me know. If you're here, please like, comment, subscribe. That would be fantastic. By the way, if you feel my videos make sense, you like them, share them with your friends. That would be lovely. So that would be very helpful. The aim is to reach 2,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So yeah, looking forward to that. Ajay Soni is like, lockdown showed people's real faces, both family and friends. Absolutely. I completely agree, Ajay. That did happen, because it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, depending on your context. And yeah, it did show people's real faces, but also I kind of have a lot of grace for people during that time. I don't think people were themselves. I think it showed an ugly side, an extreme side. People who were good were behaving very nicely. People who were bad were behaving very badly. So there is that. I think everyone reacted to it in their own way. It was not easy. Yeah. AAA is like, I hope the virus comes back. Yeah. Bro, I hope you're wrong. That's one of the worst comments I've seen. I hope you are being funny. Yeah. Go and check how many of your friends' parents died, how many of your friends' grandmothers, grandfathers died, and then come back and put this comment. Sorry to make it serious, but that actually happened. So yeah. Shamek is like, I don't want to serve the notice period after experiencing such bad behavior. It's taking a toll on my mental health and morale. How can I leave without servicing the notice period? Shamek, You should serve the notice period, because I have also quit when I have not felt great about certain places. But serve the notice period. If you don't, you will literally not get the experience later, right? So don't do that. Serve the notice period. How long is the notice period? Find out different ways of not serving the notice period. Ask them if you can buy out the notice period. Go through your offer letter. Speak to the HR. Do that. You can totally do that. See if your leaves can be put out. There is something, if you if you don't attend during, if you take holidays during the notice period, there is an LOP, which is loss of pay. See if you can take that. There are multiple ways to look at it. I don't think, but uh, go and negotiate. Be like, hey man, 1 month, 2 months maximum I want to serve, and let me go, please, thank you, bye. If you are in a PSU, I think it will be a 3 month notice period. So go for it. It's taking a toll on your mental health. Like, go in your notice period and just like probably work on your mental health. Like, prioritize that, because you're anyway on your way out, right? So do that, but don't mess with your mental health. That needs to be with you for the rest of your life. So please, yeah. Ajay Soni is like 2nd April. Tomorrow will be a big date. Trump tariff will be in action for the world. Let's see what happens to my portfolio. Already bleeding red. Absolutely, Ajay. That's a great point. You're making some amazing points today. Yes, tomorrow is 2nd April. Tariffs, it is what it is. And I think some tariffs will remain, some will go out. I think आज भी stock market 1300 points से गिरा है. Yeah, I think this is the turbulence that the economy had to go through. Um, the world is changing. It is what it is, right? So yeah, unfortunately, let's see. But I still feel within like 2 quarters, I think we will know what is there. I'm not saying everything will be fine. By September, October, we will know exactly where we all stand. I think, and it's a good thing India is cutting custom duties, frankly. फालतू का एक्सपेंसिव चीज़ें रख रहे हैं, करने दो ना अच्छी चीज़ें इम्पोर्ट, क्या जा रहा है. लाइक एंटी कंजम्पशन है यार ये लोग, नेक्स्ट लेवल. सो दैट इज दैट. सो या, Yomai Yomai, once again, amazing name. How was your events travel after lockdown? Any kissa you'd like to share? I think travel and tourism has changed a lot and many norms have changed. Okay, so I will take out, this will be the last question I'll take, most likely today. And I'll take out 2-3 minutes to talk about it, because it's a brilliant, beautiful question. So the lockdown started on 17th or 18th of March 2020. I was supposed to go to Goa solo trip, my first ever solo trip, on 22nd of March. Clearly, I couldn't go. Clearly, I couldn't go. And I was pissed. I'd lost money in that, clearly, because no one was refunding shit during that time. So I'd lost money. And more importantly, I was like, paisa theek hai, but I lost my vacation, right? I'd worked so hard. I lost my vacation. And I was determined कि मैं जाऊँगा. And after losing, imagine losing your vacation and instead feeling so horrible that you just don't want to do anything, right? It was so bad. So I was like, fuck that. I was waiting, and I think it was November. It was November or October. I think it was November of 2020 when the relaxations were introduced in places like Goa, because they are completely, hugely tourism-based economy. So mining, tourism, and all of that. So tourism वाला उन्होंने खोल दिया, उन्होंने बोला कुछ नहीं, आ जाओ. एंड मैंने 10-15 वो RTGS जो भी टेस्ट होता है, मैं भूल गया, RTGS बोल रहा हूँ, वाह, जो भी वो टेस्ट था वो करा लिया. मैं बोला मेरे को जाने का है. एंड I went over there, and it was a solo trip. And I remember I was working at that time good 17-18 hours a day. Before that, I used to start working at 8 in the morning. I used to end at 2 in the night. And it was a tough time. But yeah, my team was amazing. I loved working with my team. But मेहनत बहुत था. तो मैं उधर से निकला, मैं पहुंचा गोवा. एंड आई रिमेंबर मैं ट्रेन से गया था. ट्रेन, वो रेलवे स्टेशन पे वो चेकिंग वेकिंग हो रहा है वो उधर, कि इफ़ यू डोंट हैव द सर्टिफिकेट, उधर चेकिंग वेकिंग हो रहा था. मैं बोला बाप रे. सो वो सब हुआ. एंड उसके बाद देन आई रिमेंबर गोइंग टू गोवा अलोन. एंड ऑल आई डिड ड्यूरिंग दोज like 3-4 days is just went from shack to shack to shack to shack. I just, all I did was just get drunk at this shack, that shack, this shack, that shack. It was damn crazy. It was just absolutely crazy. And I remember I was at this shack, and I was looking at the ocean, and all I wanted to see was something else other than my computer screen, right? And I've ordered a beer, and I've ordered like some prawns and everything, and This guy comes like, "Do you want anything else?" I was like, "No, I got the food, I got the beer. Like, that's all." Like, "No, no, are you sure? Are you done? और कुछ चाहिए क्या आपको?" I was like, "No, I don't do like मैं drugs works नहीं करता sir, sorry." You know, like he was that waiter. And he's like, नहीं नहीं और भी है हमारे पास और कुछ चाहिए क्या? मैं अबे जाना. So because I was a single dude, just like solo traveler, उसको लगा बकवास चीजें करने आया है. And he was trying to, upsell the prawns and the beer that he was selling me. So I was like, just get lost, man. So that was one kissa, so to say. I had a solo trip which I did. I remember going into the water after giving my bag with everything that I had, like, phone and everything behind the counter of the shack and being like, please, I beg of you, just ensure nobody takes this. And just jumping into the water, spending like half an hour in the, beach and lovely. Let's just came back hoping and praying because सिर्फ सिर्फ स्विमिंग सूट में गया था मैं पानी में ऑब्वियसली. एंड इफ यू आर कमिंग बैक एंड देयर इज नथिंग रिमेनिंग, यू तो भाई तुमको तो कोई एंट्री भी नहीं देगा कहीं पे. सो आई रिमेंबर दोज टाइम्स व्हेन दैट वाज अ लीप ऑफ फेथ आई टुक, कि अकेले जाएंगे घूम के आएंगे. फिर भी लड़का हूँ. आई डोंट नो हाउ वुमेन डू दैट. आई हैव नो क्लू हाउ दे डू दैट. I thought don't have the balls to do. I wouldn't have the balls to do it if I were a woman, but as a man also, I was like, ठीक है. Of course, I followed certain rules. Ki you will not be outside, your house, your room, wherever you are, after like 10 p.m. and all of that, right? So now that I think of it, I need to remind myself the details of those trips because I loved it so much. Next year again, before my wedding, I went again to my second solo trip, but I went there for a longer time. I went there for 9 days. So it was a lot of fun, I would say it was a lot of fun. And yeah, that was the revenge travel I did. And yeah, it was just fantastic. It was just fantastic. It was lovely. And I hope each one of you does a solo trip. It teaches you a lot about yourself, it's solo trips are beautiful, they're amazing. So yeah. Yeah. Triple A is like I work for TCS and I abused and threatened my manager. He had an attack and went to HR. क्या करते हो यार तुम लोग? क्यों करते हो ऐसा वैसा? You know, it's crazy. Ajay Soni is like one question. Your last year first pay figure digits. I don't know, but I started my salary with a 14,000 का stipend. Then my second salary was 10,500 because yeah, I made some. It was actually internship 5,000 फिर 10,500. That was my pre. Those were my pre MBA salaries. So yeah, it is what it is, right? So anyway, folks, I'm 5 minutes over time. It was lovely chatting with you. Sorry, started late, but this was my, these were my thoughts on 5 years since lockdown. Let me know. Ajay Soni is like post MBA batao. This is very rude, Ajay. You shouldn't be asking people their salaries. Frankly speaking, at least I don't. So anyway, thank you, folks. That was Polke Bol. Like, comment.